this time in 2020, the wildest year that I have ever experienced. Here I am, and I got all these spiders around me. I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask to be surrounded and having my reality filled with spiders. And at first, I thought that it wasn't cool because, well, they're creepy and they bite me and they make webs that I walk into sometimes, and I thought that that was pretty weird. And actually, though, I'm starting to realize that spiders are pretty amazing. And there's a lot more to spiders than meets the eye. And I have a lot more in common with spiders, and so do you, than maybe you've really considered or thought about. So let's talk about it. Spiders hang out on webs. And I've started to realize that I hang out on webs too. And some of my webs are networks of people, networks of connections, and we all have something in common, and that's why we're connected. That's why we share these webs. And the internet is a great example of these webs that we live on. That's kind of obvious. But then there's this other kind of web that I've heard called the mycelium. Now that's interesting. It's a combination of psychicness and mycelium from mushrooms. And it's this notion that we are part of a web of consciousness, a web of awareness and life, and that we share realities with people, we share experiences with people, we share feelings with people, and that we're far more permeable than we have maybe ever thought that we truly are. And that's a beautiful thing, how connected we are. How connected we are by these invisible networks that are linking us together with so many shared connections. There may be shared sense of purpose and values that until we really align and discover those deeper purposes and values within ourselves, we may be unaware of them. We may not notice them. And there's something else that I've come to really appreciate about spiders. Just today, I was standing out in the garden and I noticed that there's a little white spider-shaped thing hanging on a web that it was either dancing or it was moving, maybe working on making a web. But as I looked closer, I realized, no, this is a spider's skin. A tiny little spider had crawled out of this skin that was no bigger from leg to leg than the size of my pinky finger nail. And I was just totally in awe in that moment, because I've been reflecting a lot on death, and I've been reflecting a lot on what needs to die within me for me to step into who I really am and what I'm really here for and what my life is for. And I, for a long time, have really shied away from death and been afraid of death, because death is something that is scary and unknown. And I would feel really uncomfortable when I felt a chapter in my life ending. And I still do, honestly. I still feel uncomfortable when chapters in my life are ending, as one is ending and beginning right now. But that shift in life, that change that happens, those natural deaths, those natural points of transition. And I think we're going through one of those right now as a species, as a collective humanity on planet Earth. We're going through a shared death experience, and we're all connected on this web of life that we all share, this interconnectedness that we honestly couldn't do without. And I see that in this time of great transition that we're in, we're really being asked to wake up to that. We're being asked to wake up to just how connected we are. And this is what I've been reflecting on in this spider season. This time when there's all these spiders around me and they're building webs and they're catching bugs in my house and in my garden, is that these spiders, they have a message for us. They have a message about new life and about interconnectedness and about what it truly is to be a collective humanity. And that's what we're here to talk about today. So I want to revisit this notion of the mycelium, because so often we can get caught up in a materiocentric perspective of life. And when I say materiocentric, what I mean is putting matter and material things at the center of our values and our sense of purpose as human beings and as a collective. But we're so much more than that. And these experiences of the mycelium that I've been having are starting to show me that. And just to cite a little something for those of you that are saying, okay, here goes Squirrely Spencer making things up, talking about mycelium. I get it. But if you go back and revisit some of the work of Carl Jung, the renowned psychologist, and in many ways the father of modern psychology, Carl Jung was pointing at this as the collective unconscious. And he really pointed with his research and well-documented studies about this phenomenon that we all share. And honestly, he did so much for the field, but he also really just paved the way for us to discover this for ourselves and to have experiences and to say, look, this is worth focusing on. This is worth your attention, because this is something that actually holds water with the scientific method. So I just want to address that for a moment, so that we can all be on the same page here and make space for everyone in this conversation. Because that's really important to me, that we come together and we connect on these unfamiliar and sometimes uncomfortable topics to think about, like spiders and undiscovered parts of ourselves. And as we sit in a great time of transition and we wonder things like, what's the point of all this? Why is this happening? When is this going to end? What's the value of this? Recognizing that we're connected to something much larger than ourselves, I found it to be really valuable, and to lean into the feelings that I'm having inside of myself, the feelings of interconnectedness that are pulling me towards who are the connections that matter. What are the networks that I'm here to support and that truly support me? The symbiosis of life. You see, it's all there in front of our eyes, my friends. These endless metaphors of life showing us the interconnectedness of all things. Just how everything is just something else, but on a larger or smaller scale. And it's all there for you to reflect on and for you to notice by slowing down and being in your life and feeling what you feel and following the truth inside of you that shows you what you know is right and what you feel is right and what's truly valuable and important to you. So I want to wrap this up by saying that life is just wild, my friends, and we are surrounded by all sorts of things, and on the surface, some of those things might look like it's not what we want, and it's it's actually making us feel really uncomfortable and making us feel like we need to be somewhere else, or that we need to remove these people, or we need to change something about this environment because it's not right, and this natural way things are showing up is bad, and we're getting caught up in judgment and resignation and cynicism and making excuses for making wrong choices that are off of our path and taking us off of our path. But what I'm discovering this spider season is that there is more than that meets the eye to spiders, to life, to humanity, to this great time of transition that we're in, and to who we really are and what we're really capable of. And so I want you to lean into that. Be curious. Be curious about who you are. Be curious about what you're capable of. And be curious about this life and the connections that you share with everything and the networks that you're a part of that are here to support you and you to support them. The symbiosis of life and who you are and what you're here to give, what you have to contribute, the natural gifts inside and the natural flow of where your life is leading you. That's enough for now. Thanks for tuning in. I love you.